Hey guys, let's get more news about Dallas, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Matt Eberflus calls Dallas CB's NFL's best, but what about Jalen Johnson? How quickly they forget, or maybe not. Back in October, Matt Eberflus might have held his own Bears cornerbacks in the highest regard, and definitely two-time Pro Bowl cornerback Jalen Johnson. Now, after his firing in Chicago and taking the job in Dallas as defensive coordinator, Eberflus has an extremely positive opinion of his new Dallas cornerbacks without even coaching a practice in the Big D as coordinator. "I believe the guys we have here are the two best in the league," Eberflus told Dallas reporters, presumably referring to former Pro Bowl cornerbacks Darren Bland and Trayvon Diggs. "They really are. They're top-notch, top 5 for sure. Excited to work with those guys. They've got length, they have speed, they have really good coverage ability. It all starts with being able to play man coverage, I believe, being able to match guys up and be able to stay with your man and then be able to work our zones from there." Then again, it was Johnson who reportedly confronted Eberflus in the Detroit locker room, shouting at him after they lost 23-20 when their coach let the clock run out with a timeout in his pocket. So maybe it's not surprising he regards his new cornerbacks as better. His other Bears cornerback, Tariq Stevenson, made the disastrous play that let the Hail Mary pass beat the Bears in Washington when they were seconds from being 5-2 on the year. The Bears will face Eberflus' defense in the 2025 season, but in a way they'll compete against him first when the offseason personnel hunt begins. The Bears won't run the same defense now as when Eberflus was in charge, but it's still a 4-3 alignment with similar concepts up front. So the Bears and Cowboys are both basically looking for the same players. Also, one of the Cowboys' defensive linemen in free agency could be someone the Bears would consider, Osa Odigizua, their 6'2", 280-pound three-technique defensive tackle who is an unrestricted free agent and ranked 30th in the NFL by Pro Football Focus overall among unrestricted free agents. Certainly Osa is a guy that we like a lot and he's a really good player for us but we'll look at other guys too and we're in the middle of that process right now, Eberflus said at his first press conference since being hired in Dallas, the team that he served as linebackers coach before becoming Colts defensive coordinator in 2018. Bears fans might have some skepticism when they hear about it, but Eberflus hopes he can be a sounding board for new Cowboys coach Brian Schottenheimer based on his own experience in Chicago. "That first couple meetings I had with him, I said I'm here for you," Eberflus told Cowboys reporters. "I want to really just do a good job of just bouncing ideas off me, experiences that I had, and just working together to be able to utilize me because I do have the experience of being a head coach for him and to make his job easier." Word to the wise for Schottenheimer, just don't take any advice on using timeouts. ESPN NFL analyst rips Jerry Jones, failing Dallas Cowboys. It goes without saying that the Dallas Cowboys have not lived up to expectations for the better part of the last 3 decades. Yes, they have had some regular season success, winning multiple NFC East titles, and making their fair share of playoff appearances. When you get down to the nitty-gritty, however, they have simply not measured up to their brand since their last Super Bowl nearly 30 years ago, according to ESPN analyst and former NFL GM Louis Riddick. The Cowboys are failing miserably across the board in their attempts to get things moving back in the right direction, especially in comparison to their arch-rival and new Super Bowl champions, the Philadelphia Eagles. "It all starts at the top," Riddick said during a discussion on Get Up. "You know that Jerry Jones said that he bought this football team so he can be the boss of it, and run it the way he wants, and he has made tactical mistakes as far as if you want to compare it to, let's say Philadelphia. Philly has outspent Dallas by $78 million in cash in the last 3 seasons. We're not talking about the salary cap. We are talking real cash out of Jeffrey Lurie's pocket into the hands of the players. As opposed to Jerry Jones, who has this cash cow in the Dallas Cowboys. That doesn't mean go out and spend like drunken sailors and be irresponsible. You have to have the front office in place to make wise decisions. The coaching staff for developing and utilizing the players. It's all along a continuum. Dallas is failing in every measure. Obviously, it is easy to take a look at what the Eagles have done over just the last couple of seasons, turning around from a 4-11 record and one of the worst teams in the NFL in 2020, to making 4 straight playoff appearances, winning 2 NFC titles, reaching 2 Super Bowls and winning 1 over the next 4 years. Meanwhile, Dallas has the longest drought in the NFC and the 3rd longest drought in the NFL for a conference title game appearance at 29 seasons, behind only the Cleveland Browns and Miami Dolphins. In other words, it appears that the Jones family has fallen behind in the times in regards to what the model NFL franchise is supposed to look like. Cowboys. The only thing worse than the noise created by Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones is the noise created by the outside world. Whenever a big-name player is released or makes the news as a possible trade candidate, immediately the Cowboys are thrown into consideration. It doesn't matter how unlikely the situation is, bring up Dallas and you have a story. During Super Bowl week, one of the game's best edge rushers, Myles Garret, went public and requested a trade. And just like clockwork, Garret was immediately a part of discussions that had him going to Dallas in a blockbuster trade. That's the way it goes, we get it. Thinking about this longer than a few seconds makes this proposition unrealistic, considering the Cowboys are likely months away from signing their own star edge rusher, Micah Parsons. Can we just please put this ember out before it starts smoking? Nope. Sadly, the Garret goes to Dallas talks didn't flame out. Quite the contrary. It started heating up as a couple of credible football sites decided to include this blockbuster trade in their most recent mock drafts. Last week, NFL.com did a mock draft that had the Cowboys trading for Garret, and then this week, PFF.com did the same thing. While their mocks contained different drafted players, the gist had the Cowboys giving up the 12th overall pick in this year's draft plus next year's first-rounder for Garret. While a move like this would do wonders for raising the hairs on the back of our necks in terms of excitement, there are so many factors that make this implausible. The Cowboys need the picks. Breaking, read all about it. The Dallas Cowboys are trying to save money by building through the draft. The Cowboys have a lot of money committed to Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and soon to Parsons. They also have players like Tyler Smith and Darren Bland who are entering the 4th year of their rookie contracts and also will get pricey second contracts soon. With a top-heavy payroll, the Cowboys must make the most of their draft resources to keep bringing in low-cost talent. They are not in the position to trade those resources. And to even consider taking this approach is a heavy deviation from how the Cowboys front office operates. 2 first-rounders is a lot of draft capital to give up, especially with one of them being the 12th overall pick in April's draft. Since 2020, the Cowboys have landed 3 top talent players with their first-round picks, so handing over 2 of them is a heavy price for a team that is pretty good at drafting players on day one. The money is messy. Draft picks aside, a deal like this would come with financial implications. For the Cowboys, it's not that bad. They would get Garret for 2 years, for roughly $20 million a season. That's a good price for a player like Garret, especially when you consider that the new deal that Parsons will command will push near the $40 a year. That's a bargain price. The bad part of this for the Cowboys is that they're not giving up 2 first-round picks for a 2-year rental, which means to make this trade worth it, they'd need to give a contract extension, and that would be hefty. That creates some tough financial decisions for a financially cautious team. And it's not that pleasant for the Cleveland Browns either. The Browns are one of 2 teams, the Eagles are the other, who have significantly pushed off costs into void years. The bookkeeping for Garret over the remaining years on his contract looks like this: cap figures courtesy of Spotrac.com, while the Cowboys inherit a $20 million hit for each of the next 2 seasons, the Browns would have all his restructuring money escalate into one expensive dead money hit. This is less than ideal for a team already on the hook for so much previously borrowed cap space coming due in the future. For the Cowboys to seriously consider making a trade of this magnitude, it would almost mean they would need to turn around and trade away Parsons to keep within their budget and regain some of their draft capital. What would be the purpose of that? Micah is 25 years old and is in his prime. And while Garret is still a remarkable talent, he will turn 30 next season. That doesn't seem like a smart way to go. Big moves are nice to think about, but oftentimes, the logistics of it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And when you factor in the Cowboys' risk-averse nature, it makes even less sense. Experts can mock away, but a deal like this seems more like a pipe dream than a realistic option. And are you a fan? What do you think of the Myles Garrett situation? Leave your opinion in the comments.